Kate is a perfect example of somebody who is a support provider who's used our tool. Kate works for Superhighways in London. She manages their program. She's a very long-standing champion of digital capability building in the non-profit sector, and as for some years now also been working in the data field, and recently ran a whole program called Datawise with a set of organizations. So Kate, would you briefly introduce your experience about the data maturity assessment and your Datawise program and how that's helped you with clients?
Yeah, I can. Hi everyone. So yes, we've been leading with other partners Datawise London programs, so helping small charities and community groups better use data to shape their services and influence change. So that was our kind of overall aim. And within that, there have been lots of kind of shorter term interventions. We've run and developed and delivered lots of training for groups, but also within it, we wanted to kind of work alongside organisations over a longer period of time, and we designed and piloted really a cohort programme. So we had 8 at the beginning, then 6 organisations that we worked with for over a 9-month period, whilst the pandemic was was on. But we were really keen to be a bit more robust in kind of measuring the change and thinking about the support we're providing and what's possible for those smaller organisations. You know, even with a nice wraparound support programme, can we really look at where they were at the beginning and distance travelled. And we've used various ways of kind of gauging where people are in their data journeys before, from a kind of swimming analogy, treading water, to kind of the Olympic team. But we've also followed the journey of the data maturity assessment right back from, I think, 2016 when you did the research. So yeah, we were really keen not to reinvent the wheel and actually place our cohort program within this wider framework. So quickly, in terms of how we used it, it wasn't a precondition for organisations joining, so we didn't ask people to complete it. We really built in that process of those organisations completing the framework and encouraged them to involve many people from their organisation rather than the one person that kind of joined us monthly during that period of time. And I guess really linked it to co-designing the goals of that programme as well. So the organisations found it a really useful conversation starter at the beginning of that programme. So just the fact that there was an assessment that they could take back to the organisation and complete collectively, started lots of conversations that hadn't been held before, and really got them to think. Obviously, the results, you know, they were then able to access the results, and we could look across the programme in terms of where those organisations were comparatively, which was quite useful. And in terms of co-designing the goals, so each of those organisations had quite different, there were some commonality, but different specific goals for what they wanted to achieve in that programme. What we asked them to do is map those across to those themes, and then we can kind of designed the programme of support and training around that, and that seemed to work really well. Stop me if you've got any specific.
No, I was going to share my screen. Actually, this is what I meant by the perfect timing, because these are some samples from those organisations with their before and after scores.
And what we found was some nice correlation with those, some of the themes that came up from across the cohort, and which really input into kind of how we designed the programme. So I think we were having a look at that, weren't we, Sian? I think it was tools, uses and analysis, I think were kind of common areas of improvement, and that did kind of reflect some of the kind of focus areas that we built into the programme. Something that I quite liked as well is the standard set of questions. We were able to add 3 custom questions within the framework. I assume, Sian, that's something that's available for everybody.
It is, yeah.
So that was quite useful because it meant that, again, at that one point of data collection, we could ask some other questions which we felt maybe weren't covered. So there was a question about how those people felt about their skills and ability to improve the data culture in their organisation, and then 2 others, one around the single biggest win, so what would good look like for them, and also a bit more of a kind of free text question around their organisation's greatest challenge.
Great, thank you, Kate, for that. I've got a couple more slides, but I'm conscious, do you have to leave in 5 minutes-ish?
You can hang around for 5 minutes, yeah.
Okay. I think perhaps then, if you're just here for 5 minutes, I'll just quickly give an overview of what we see as the data maturity theory of change, because this is really the process that we see ourselves taking our clients through. And I think it's either us or you perhaps with your clients, because obviously, we've talked about some of the problems about engaging people and what their issues are and why they use the data maturity tool. We've definitely got evidence from our point of view about these immediate benefits, about that improved understanding, a fairly objective view of where they are and where they could get, when they need to focus, and critically this sort of inspired inspiration and motivation to improve. But then what happens next, maybe they'll do it themselves, or maybe they'll have a support of someone like Kate or yourselves, but essentially it's then about the planning, it's about the resources, it's about the implementing of change before these ultimate fruits can be reaped around the expertise and knowledge and better services and greater impact. Some summaries just quickly of the benefits that we've seen, and I don't know, Kate, whether you'd like to comment on this, but these are some of the impacts that we've had, benefits that we've had reported back from other users. And I think, the impact measurement is quite a key thing of that. Of course, it does assume that you have had an impact. We can make no guarantees about that. It's always a little bit scary, the follow-up assessment, because to some extent it's not always your responsibility or in your control to do that. It's really down to your client and them implementing the recommendations or change. I'm going to stop there and just pause there and ask whether anyone in the audience has got any questions for Kate before she goes. Ben, this might be a good time for you to step in and host briefly.
Yes, no questions have appeared yet, so I'm going to use my privilege of, I'm interested, so it's, you seem very positive about the framework and the tool, and that's all very nice, but I'm not, can you just explain a bit more for the people here? What is it that is useful about, because I think it can feel a bit kind of, yeah, what actually is it that is useful that you found?
I think for me it was the fact that it was a framework that had been developed kind of on the back of, it was linked into research and a kind of a roadmap for improving data maturity in the sector, so it was relevant. I think because we were engaging with 1 or 2 representatives from the organisation, it gave an opportunity for that kind of input, and as I said, conversation started with the wider organisation that we didn't have direct contact with. I think the fact that we were interested to see how it would hold up with some quite different organisations and small ones. So we're talking a couple of organisations with under 100k up to, I think, a couple with between 500 and 1 million. So those smaller charities, whether the language, whether that would be an issue, but I think the feedback was that was fine. And I think from that point forwards, we then tended to look at the themes and talk about the themes. So obviously the answers to their questions, then place them in terms of where they were in those themes. And I think, Sian, we found that it was quite representative, this group, with kind of medium range.
I mean,
of
interestingly, the
charities,
median for the group was exactly the same, or at least at the beginning, in the baseline assessments, the median matched exactly with what we subsequently found from the whole sector analysis as well.
And I think,
and it definitely shifted forwards afterwards.
And moving from kind of learning towards developing or into developing. I mean, there were a couple of organisation scores that, had we scored them ourselves, kind of once we'd started to get to know, there was a little bit of subjectivity maybe going on, but not, overall, I think it kind of matched our expectations. Maybe one organisation had maybe been harder on themselves than another, but I would just say there was maybe 2 outliers from across that group in terms of where we might have plotted them.
That's great. Can we just follow on? I'm conscious you will have to go in a moment, but Nissa Ramsey has asked, what value did it add to you in terms of providing support compared to when you don't use this sort of assessment? E.g., there's an E.g. here, did it enable different kinds of conversation or follow-up compared to not having an assessment?
Yeah, I think for us the difference was the longevity of this intervention and our involvement with those organisations. We don't do so many kind of in-depth data consultancy projects, so the rest of our data support for organisations, as I said, is kind of quick one-off one-to-ones or training. So for us it was really having the opportunity to use it because we had that period of time. So I can't, I guess I can't compare with this was the one opportunity that we had where we were working with organisations for long enough, I think, for us to see some meaningful change and to measure that, as I said, in a little bit more of a robust way.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe you have to leave us now.
I have to leave, sorry.
So thank you very much for your time. And if people want to find out more about the work of Superhighways, where should they look?
I can, Sian can share. I think, I don't know if you've mentioned the blog. There's a couple of blogs actually that are on the Data Orchard website. So the kind of the one around the beginning and one around the post-assessment. So have a look there.
That's the best answer. Find out more by going to the Data Orchard website. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thanks
okay,
for
bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Great.